This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, a large group including local leaders gathered to protest at Dunedin Hospital. Researchers identify government agencies are getting worse at responding to email requests. And new beginnings for a public garden in Dunedin, and further plans are in the pipeline. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Holly Buchanan. Rainy weather was no deterrent to the hundreds of residents protesting food quality at Dunedin Hospital today. The large gathering involved local leaders, union representatives and politicians, and it even attracted people from outside the city.
Making their point heard, hundreds of residents congregated outside Dunedin Hospital's main entrance to protest the controversial cost-saving food scheme undertaken by the SDHB. A coalition has been formed to get the Southern District Health Board to reinstate its old food program and bring back local jobs.
People here are really upset, and the purpose of the coalition that we've got with Grey Power, Greens, New Zealand First, Labour and of course the Mayor of Invercargill and Deputy Mayor is to ask for the Commissioner to end the contract with Compass and reinstate our kitchens.
More than 300 people were estimated to be protesting, including some who'd driven up from Southland. Invercargill Mayor Tim Shadbolt says patients and their relatives have been complaining to him en masse about Compass meals, and he sees it as his duty to respond.
I think when Dunedin and Invercargill, Otago and Southland work together on an issue that affects all of us in a very similar manner, it adds strength to the cause and makes hopefully the central politicians take notice.
Patients have been questioning the taste, variety and nutrition of Compass meals since they started being rolled out earlier this year. Most are prepared in Auckland and frozen before being thawed and served locally. The Health Board signed a 15-year contract with Compass to cut costs, but protesters want that reconsidered.
We've launched the petition, both the paper one and the online one, for a period of 3 weeks, both in Dunedin and Invercargill. At the end of that period, we'd like to organise a public meeting where we invite the Commissioner and the people that support her to present the petition and of course call on them personally to cut that contract.
No Health Board representatives were present at the rally to speak on the issue. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
And a top police officer at the Central Dunedin station is about to become the next University of Otago proctor. The role is being filled by Senior Sergeant Dave Scott, who's currently working as the Dunedin Area Response Manager for Police. He oversees daily frontline policing and is the second in charge of the local Armed Offender Squad. Scott's replacing former proctor Dave Miller, who resigned after just 4 months in the job. The policeman's taking up the campus role at the end of May after 24 years in uniform. He also currently chairs the Dunedin Emergency Services Coordinating Committee. Government departments are failing to respond to simple email requests, as highlighted in a University of Otago study. Researchers have been focusing on the lack of responsiveness by New Zealand and Australian government agencies, but they say local authorities are faring better.
Scanning for imperative data. For the past decade, University of Otago researcher Professor Robin Gold and his peers have been monitoring government responses to email requests for information. Their scores for the New Zealand government have dropped from a B to a C.
The basic expectation is if you have an email address or a point of contact, you should be responsive. Otherwise there's no point in having that point of contact, and that was really what was the driver behind this study. If you have a point of contact, there should be someone there, or are you better off just picking up the old telephone as you would have done in the old days and expected a response of some sort?
One of the only international measures of a country's e-government practices is a United Nations survey. In the most recent study, New Zealand placed 9th out of all member countries, while Australia was 2nd. But Gold says the accuracy of those more positive rankings is questionable.
They pay very little attention to the responsiveness side. What does it actually mean for a member of the public? So that's where our study is really important, because we've got a very simple window on how well public services actually perform through electronic means.
Gold says there's no straightforward fix for poorly ranked departments. It's up to staff to review practices and decide whether email is an appropriate form of contact.
We speculate a little bit about what might be done in response. So agencies probably need to think about, who's monitoring the email address, what are the expectations for monitoring. They may need to be thinking about how they prioritise the emails, the accuracy of the responses and so forth.
The Dunedin City and Otago Regional Councils each received a B grade from local researchers, meaning they supply requested information, but nothing further. Gold says that's encouraging, but there's room for improvement across the board, including in central government. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The government's allocating more than $300 million to the integration of fire authorities. All urban and rural fire services will merge to form one organisation called Fire and Emergency New Zealand from the middle of next year. The government's increasing fire levies paid on insurance for property, contents and motor vehicles to cover half the cost. It's spending $30 million directly and over $100 million to be repaid over the next decade. Almost 2/3 of the money will be used to boost rural fire services, set up local committees and better support volunteer firefighters. The rest will cover the costs of moving to the new organisation. A new community venture is starting in Pine Hill. Residents have spent more than a year gathering support and seeking civic approval for a public garden. And while the first sod of earth's just been turned, they're already planning future development.
Getting their hands dirty. Mayor Dave Cull and Councillor Ginty McTavish have been planting the first edibles in the newly established Pine Hill Community Garden. It's the brainchild of residents who are wanting to turn part of Dalmore Reserve into something enjoyable for everyone in the suburb.
It just became really clear to me that there's nothing in Pine Hill for us as a community. The only place that people can go to congregate is the local church. There's not even a coffee shop up here.
The garden's about getting residents together and forming bonds, as well as providing a productive outlet for children. Fred Smith spent the 60s and 70s living in Pine Hill and has been backing this project from the beginning. He says there are several single-parent families in the area that can benefit from learning how to grow food.
And it is also not only a teaching tool, it's a community gathering. And of course, at the end of the day, there's produce to take home and put in the pot.
There are also wider plans to tidy up and better utilise the rest of the reserve, which links Pine Hill to the Northeast Valley. Alan's been liaising with community corrections staff who are keen to help out by clearing and maintaining walking tracks. She has a long-term vision, starting with humble but positive beginnings.
It's an amenity for this area, and it's going to improve the quality of the lives of the people in this area, and it's going to give us all a reason for getting out of our houses and going and talking to people, and even if we're just pulling one weed, it doesn't really matter.
The council's granted a 5-year licence for the garden under the umbrella of the Northeast Valley project. It's been blessed by local kaumātua Dave Allison with sacred water from Mount Cook. Now it's a case of residents getting stuck in and backing the paddock to plate concept. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, we meet the man who has spent almost half a century researching before publishing a book. And we find out why landfill users might be hit in the pocket in future.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
New Zealand Beeswax Limited are the quintessential beeswax, woodwear and beekeeping suppliers. From the amateur beekeeper to the commercial operator, New Zealand Beeswax Limited has the quantity to meet your needs. For great prices, great service New Zealand-wide, contact New Zealand Beeswax Limited on 03 693 9189 or visit www.beeswax.co.nz.
It's on again. The Star Regent 24-hour book sale starts noon 10th of June. Don't miss out!
Professional, reliable and approachable service where your dream kitchen design can become an affordable reality. Contact the team at Kitchens for Less. Call 455 9973 or visit us online.
Oui, tu vas voir Marjolaine et le maquillage. D'accord, ok.
Mobility scooters Otago. Mobility scooters, new and used, electric manual wheelchairs, strollers and walkers. Free home demonstration and delivery. Call Tony on 03 455 2875 or visit our showroom, 211 Canudwood Street, opposite Westpac.
Garrador Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 15 years. New doors, replacement doors, repairs and maintenance are all part of Garrador's quality service. Garrador Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team at 553 Kaikoai Valley Road. Visit www.garrador.co.nz or call us on 488 5676.
Tune in on Thursday for Motorsport Night on Dunedin Television.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Welcome back. Infrastructure company Downer is making 33 staff redundant. The majority are based in Dunedin at the firm's construction division. The Amalgamated Workers Union says all affected employees had to reapply for their jobs. Downer says staff have been notified of individual outcomes for each role. There hasn't been any negotiations over redundancy packages as workers are covered by a collective agreement. Downer confirmed it was restructuring at the beginning of the month. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. The NZX 50 is up 31 points and is now at 6,821. The Dow Jones is down 211 points. And to the exchange rates, the Kiwi dollar is down against the Australian dollar, the yen and the euro. A local man has written and published a book detailing the history of Waipori. David Still has spent almost half a century researching the project and he joins us now to talk about it. Good evening, David.
Good evening.
So tell us, what's the basis of your book?
Well, it's really the story of the people of Waipori. There are about 317 families and individuals who have articles about them, all in alphabetical order so that people can search for their family. And it tells the story really of what they were doing. So it's not a complete history of Waipori, but it's a history of the people.
And when did your interest in Waipori begin?
Well, this goes back 49 years when I first went tramping with a friend in the area and discovered all sorts of relics and tunnels and shafts and things like that, and I got inquisitive. So that's how it all began.
And how have you researched the book over the years?
Well, I was very lucky. There was still a number of miners still alive that I could interview and take notes. Then going through the newspapers took several years, page by page, recording all the searching through for references to Waipori. I mean, today you can do this on, online, no trouble at all, but it was pretty hard going. Hocken Library is extremely useful, and as now Archives New Zealand has a lot of information that I've been delving into sometimes for months on end.
And what's unique about the area?
Well, at the moment it's underneath Lake Mahanarangi, so the whole side of the town with 11 or more hotels, dozen gold dredges, it's all destroyed, flooded by Lake Mahanarangi. So,
and have you uncovered anything else particularly interesting?
well, one of the most interesting things I found was in a bank below a Chinese hut was a chain of bottles that had the bottoms removed from them and the neck of the next bottle tucked in, and it made us curious, and we found it started underneath a fireplace outside the hut and led up into the hut, which was only big enough to sleep in, and so by cooking outside they were warming the ground, and the hot air was going up the chain of bottles and into the hut. So they.
How does it feel to have finished this project after all these years?
Well, it's quite a relief, really. It's been people asking me for many years now when it's going to be finished, and last I can say it's been done.
David Still, thanks very much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, change could soon be on the horizon for those using landfills. And we hear your views on whether Anzac Day is still relevant.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special, 0800 502 402.
Oui, tu vas voir Marjolaine et le maquillage. D'accord, ok.
Finding that your grass seed just won't grow? Ready Lawn has the perfect solution for all those lawn woes. Call Ready Lawn today on 486 1819.
Mobility scooters Otago. Mobility scooters, new and used, electric manual wheelchairs, strollers and walkers. Free home demonstration and delivery. Call Tony on 03 455 2875 or visit our showroom, 211 Kinneedwood Street, opposite Westpac.
Ecrotech Limited have been supplying beekeeping equipment and honey products in New Zealand for over 100 years. A specialist manufacturer of hiveware and plastic products for the beekeeping industry. They are the leading supplier of beekeeping equipment nationwide. For all your beekeeping needs, visit ecrotech.co.nz or call 0800 117766.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Tune in on Thursday for Motorsport Night on Dunedin Television.
Welcome back. A 21-year-old male is reportedly fighting for his life after jumping off the roof of a two-storey house during a party last night. Police were called to the Pitt Street flat about 11:30 p.m. Officers say alcohol was a factor in the incident. The young man is in a critical condition at Dunedin Hospital with life-threatening injuries. Noise control officers were called to the party 3 times. Landfill users may see costs rise as the government's reviewing its emissions trading scheme. The City Council is considering how it'll handle proposed changes, which could see all emissions having to be paid for at full price. But it could be some time before that happens.
Finding a way to reduce waste. The government's proposing to remove the 50% subsidy on landfills as part of its emissions trading scheme review. That could mean a rise in local costs.
The government is now signalling that they're going to bring that 2-for-1 credit deal, the 50% deal, to an end, which means that as an emitter, as a landfill operator, as a city, we're going to have an increase in the emissions costs associated with what we put into landfill.
The City Council's been looking into how it can make up the nearly $900,000 margin that the change would bring. It could spread the burden across ratepayers or target landfill users directly.
The option that would be most consistent with our waste policy, which is that polluters pay for what they put in landfill, would be that we pass on the costs of the emissions trading scheme changes to the people who are using the landfill.
The Council's submission on the ETS review asks the government to roll out cost increase of between 10 to 20% over a 3-year period. Councillors believe a slower increase may stop people from disposing of waste through other means.
If we don't phase that in, there might be an increase in things like people doing illegal dumping. It might cause quite a significant backlash if it happens immediately rather than over a period of time.
The Council's Community and Environment Committee will address the topic again at a meeting in 2 weeks' time. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
More than 10,000 residents attended Anzac Day services throughout the city on Monday. Commemorations marked the 100th anniversaries of the New Zealand RSA and of formal Anzac Day ceremonies. So this week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asked, is Anzac Day still relevant? 89% of you said yes and 11% said no. The City Council's discovered 2/3 of South Dunedin mud tanks weren't properly maintained when last June's record rainfall hit. That's prompted calls for an infrastructure overhaul. So next week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asks, are you worried about more flooding this winter? You can vote at our website dunedintv.co.nz. And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. Hundreds of people have been protesting the Southern DHB's meals, calling for its contract with Compass Group to be terminated. A leading professor says government agencies are failing to respond to simple email requests for information, but councils are doing better. And the first edibles have been planted in the newly established Pine Hill Community Garden, set up by 2 dedicated residents. And time for a look at local weather.
This 39 Dunedin News weather update proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn's Emu Oil.
Starting with today's city view, taken of the Southern Water Treatment Plant from Kenmure Road. Around the city today, the central city recorded 12 degrees, 11 at the Gardens and 12 degrees out on the Tyree. Looking at the situation, and an anticyclone is moving across the Tasman Sea onto New Zealand. A light northwest airflow will develop over the South Island at the weekend. To the forecast for the main towns in the lower South Island for tomorrow: Invercargill and Gore, moderate nor'westerlies, fine and 16. Te Anau, moderate nor'westers, some cloud and 15 degrees. Alexandra, fine and 19. Queenstown, light northerlies, fine and 18 degrees. Oamaru, light nor'easters, fine and 17. Wanaka and Twizel, light northerlies, fine and 19 degrees. Here in Dunedin tonight, becoming fine with an overnight low of 8 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly fine and sunny with light to moderate nor'easters developing, a high of 16 and a low of 7. And on Sunday, milder with nor'westers freshening and high cloud increasing, and a high of 19 degrees. And finally, to the Otago Pallet Fire's tidal and fishing information. High tide tomorrow morning is at 9:47 a.m. and low tide follows at 4:37 p.m. And on Sunday, high tide is at 10:46 a.m. and low tide follows at 5:35 p.m. And fishing conditions are fair on Saturday, best at 6:32 a.m. and fair on Sunday, best at 7:23 a.m. That's all from the team here at 39 Dunedin News for this week. We'll leave you now with shots of the week that was, and we'll see you again on Monday. Good night.
You're my heartbeat, my silent drum that's kicking me till I'm numb. I wanna feel the love that James Brown did when he got standing ovations on his gate. I wanna feel free like a bird in the sky when he opened his wings to fly on by to the beat of my silent drum that is kicking me till I'm numb. You're my heartbeat, my silent drum that's kicking me till I'm numb. I wanna feel the love that James Brown did when he got standing ovations on.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand.